The following is a conversation. It has the features of any conversation, such as imperfectly expressed thoughts, ill-considered opinions, and the notions of several sleep-deprived brains. Try not to get your stethoscope in a twist about it.
What are you guys doing for Christmas?
Figuring out how to coordinate my family together in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Why does it fall to you?
Why does it fall to me?
He's the responsible one, which is kind of scary if you think about it.
Aren't there like actual ancient adults who can do this?
Yeah, the adults of
the elder ones.
Yeah, they're communicating with us from the beyond, but it's hard to pick up those signals.
And you will all congregate at his house this year.
Vivid dreams. And it's well, my brother Kevin's in Spain. No, he was in Spain. Now he's in England. He's in England. My mom's in Reno, my dad's in Northern California, and then two of my brothers, one of them was in Nashville, the other was just in Los Angeles. So we're trying to figure it out.
That's absurd.
I'm over here in Iowa.
Yeah, that's an absurd arrangement. I just have to go back east. Everybody is there.
That's fair.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I just don't have a family.
Posture.
Feel free to cut that out.
I realized that, but you're very great posture.
I try. I do try a lot.
Yeah.
Ever since Dr. Hoffman said that what you're supposed to do is like bring your ears over your shoulders.
Yeah, and your
and tuck
chin tucked a little.
Yeah, I'm always like.
Yeah, well, I meant mostly your back. I just feel like the hunchback.
Yeah, your head posture is shit. Hey, it's the end of your first semester of medical school. Given that this is true, kiss, marry, kill, med school, a corporate job, or freelancer?
Freelancing in what?
Wait,
I don't know, just freelancer.
What are the three things again? Freelancer, corporate job?
Freelancer, corporate job, and med school, what you've just done.
Oh, kiss freelancer, marry med school, kill corporate. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that those are the options.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down with that. That's fine. Why freelancer? That's tough.
It was tough. I've just done it before.
You've just done it.
Yeah. And I gave it a little kiss, for sure. I actually kind of gave it a big kiss.
Oh, a little sloppy kiss? Okay. Sloppy kiss.
When I was a kid, we learned that the kisses are the peach, plum, and alfalfa. Did you guys ever hear this one?
No.
Peach, plum, and alfalfa?
No.
You can give somebody a peach. You can give somebody a plum.
Oh, yuck.
Or you can give somebody the old alfalfa.
That was
That's a visual experience for those listening on Spotify.
Wow.
If someone wants to give me a flower now, I'm going to be like, get away from me.
Yeah, you definitely lost me a plum. That was horrible.
Yeah, sorry, friends.
Sullied.
No one gives me flowers, by the way.
The point was to, stay in the peach range. That was the advice that we were given.
Hey, I feel ya. Plum and alfalfa, that shit's gross.
They'll go run around in alfalfa fields.
Funny that you never see like just the one side person of the plum and alfalfa kissing. And so, yeah, that was disconcerting. To say the least.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Oh my god, like a coronal
So did you
section?
give a peach kiss or a
coronal section?
Or did you give a plum kiss to freelancing?
I probably gave it closer to like somewhere between a plum and an alfalfa. Like
good for you.
Yeah.
What did you do as a freelancer?
I tutored. In fact, I still tutor, and I did some blog writing as well.
Oh, there's
travel blogging. Yeah.
There's a job.
Yeah, it was. I learned a lot about like different random places. That's for sure.
I mean, the travel part's great.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say though, if you ever read a travel blog about like some random place, they are probably not written by people that have been to that place. Just heads up.
Surprises me not at all.
Yeah,
that scares me.
Yeah,
a lot,
just so you know,
I've heavily relied on those traveling in dangerous places.
Oh no, I've just Googled the heck out of those places.
Oh my god, you're on the other end of those articles. It's you.
It's me.
You're like,
she's the one that got you through it, man.
This is how you get through Nicaragua, and I'm like, thank you.
Tegucigalpa, let me tell you which bars are safe. Let's go.
That's horrifying. I love it though.
Just so you know.
Wow.
A tip you can only get on the short coat.
Wow.
Is everything a lie?
Meandering in the margins of medicine, it's the Short Coat Podcast.
Weird news,
fresh views,
helpful clues, and interviews.
By students, for students.
Subscribe to our weekly show at theshortcoat.com.
Welcome back to the Short Coat Podcast, the show that gives you an inside look at medical school from the students drinking from that fire hose. It's a production of the University of Iowa Carver College of Medicine. I'm Dave Etler. With me today in the SCP studio, some carefully programmed real intelligences or our eyes. He's as ethical as they come. It's M2 Jeff Goddard.
I do intend.
She's certainly not prone to hallucinations. It's M1 Fallon Jung.
Sometimes I hallucinate.
He will not take your job. It's M1 Brian Young.
That's my name.
Real quick, before we get into the meat and taters, I would like to hear a review of your first semester of medical school.
You should go first, Brian.
Did I screw with the audio? It's like straight up how it is.
Wow.
It's not an 8 to 5. It's hard.
It's my new ringtone.
It was fun though.
Beautiful people. Yeah.
Review like a plum. No, it was really great. Honestly, it was a lot of wonderful people, really supportive community, and I had a really good time.
And you how overwhelmed were you? Were you whelmed?
I cried.
Did you?
I did cry one time. It's so hard.
It's okay. I was right there with you.
Yeah.
How many times did you cry?
I think I cried twice.
I think I cried twice too.
And what were the triggers?
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
The first time was in the very beginning when they said that we had anatomy tutoring, and I was like, oh, I want to take advantage of this. And everybody seemed to be going in on a Sunday, and I was like, I'm going to go in on a Sunday. And then I got there, I put on my all my lab stuff. I got there, and then I turned right around and walked out, and then went home, and then I cried.
In this case, because
I don't know. I think it's because I didn't want to work on a Sunday, but I felt like I should, but I felt like I did not like working on Sundays, and then I baked, and it was nice.
Wow,
what a wonderful
soul.
I know, what a wonderful way of dealing with your feels.
Oh, I had a hug too.
Well,
that helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was even more wholesome, let me tell you.
That wasn't the only. I mostly deal with my feels through hugs.
Sure.
Yeah, and journaling.
Love that.
What'd you bake?
Oh, don't remember. Cookies probably. It was pies.
Oh yeah.
I made pies. It was the pies.
The pies.
The pies that I brought.
Pies, yes.
Yeah, pies.
Love that.
Yeah.
I didn't. I wonder if I realized that was a product of sadness. A sadness pie.
Yeah.
That's what makes it taste so good. It's the melancholy.
Cry into the bowl or anything.
Sadness
it was just a quick little cry.
Cathartic.
Brian, what was there a
crying?
trigger? What was a?
I think I was just like, oh my gosh, the past week I've worked 12 to 13 hour days every single day, like waking moment to go into sleep.
Yeah.
And just really active. And I think that was just overwhelming. And a couple little teary boys made their way down my cheek.
Did you also bake, or did you were your coping skills productive? They don't have to be.
I don't think I did. I think what I thought about was I was like, whether or not I'm stressed, it's the exact same amount of work. It is not going to change, and I'm still going to have to do it. So I was just like, I sucked the tears back up, straight up into my Celoturcica, and I cried later again.
Well, you conserved resources.
Yeah,
That's nice.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So you tough loved yourself out of it.
Yes, that is honestly it. For me, it works. For me, it works. I've never tried baking or getting baked, but but in as far as kind of logic my way through it.
Good.
Helps me get through it.
Whatever works. We're not going to, on this show, we're not going to deny that things get tough.
Things do get tough. That is for
But
sure.
there were also probably good things.
Yeah.
I will say
Can you remember any good things?
Yeah, I met a lot of really amazing people, like I had mentioned.
People that make pie, for example.
Yeah, there's a lot of random food that flies out of nowhere when you're in medical school.
Mm-hmm.
I can't grab the little cakey do that Fallon had made me, but if I could get to it, I would, and I would demonstrate it. But I could describe it. It's in a tiny little beautiful. Oh, he's got it there. It's like in a little aluminum tray, and
I would say 99.09 listen to us, and 1 zillionth listen to or watch it on YouTube. So you can
just describe
It's
it.
You could just
chocolate chip banana muffin.
Oh,
kind
it's
of
pumpkin.
Pumpkin. Ooh, chocolate chip pumpkin.
love that.
Bread,
Spicy and sweet.
Yeah, so that helps.
just like you.
Yeah. A lot of love in the medical school. Everybody's really supportive. No one wants to bring you down or make anything bad happen to you, which is lovely.
Oh, that is really nice.
Yeah.
Except for Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff tries to hurt me and kill me all the time, I think.
We've talked about the concept of tough love, and I think, and I stand by this, the reason that medical school is hard. okay, the only useful reason that medical school is hard, it's hard for a lot of reasons that are useless, but it's usefully hard because it teaches you to go through a hard thing when you have support so that you can learn coping mechanisms, because you're about to go through a lot of hard years in medicine and you're going to have progressively less support and you need to have progressively stronger coping mechanisms.
I in all my years, I've never thought of it that way. That's
I agree.
It could be that, to everybody's chagrin, it's like metacognition. Like, I think about how I think a lot.
Sure.
And I know that as a human being, I like to find meaning everywhere I go. And if I find good meaning, it's no longer, this is a Viktor Frankl thing. Go read him if you haven't, audience. He's lovely. Suffering ceases to be suffering the moment it finds meaning.
Yeah. Yes.
A man's search for meaning, right?
Yes. One of my that got me through some dark times in my 20s when I did find myself crying quite a bit.
Yeah.
And now I'm old and 30.
I guess I have thought of this before, in the sense that the thing that makes it tolerable is the fact that everybody's doing it at the same time, and you're all going crazy. You're all losing it. And even those people who seem to be relative could be on the inside going nutso.
One of the nice things about medical school is that, from my perspective, other people might not agree, but like, nobody can take it away from you. Like, there's a certain amount of quote unquote suffering that you have to go through in order to get to the point where you can be a physician, or, for some of our classmates, a PA or whatever. It is a challenging process, and it's going to be at times very grueling, and nobody can remove that from you. The best that they can do is they can sit with you while you're going through with it.
Yeah.
And I think that hopefully is something that we will be able to then turn on to our future patients, by being able to say, like, yeah, there are going to be a lot of things that we can't take away from somebody, right? Whether it's lupus or, some form of cancer or whatever it is. Some things we want to treat, some things we want to cure, but there are going to be a lot of things where I can sit with you. And now that we've had just a taste of what that feels like, of going through something that nobody can take away, but somebody can sit with us, maybe hopefully we'll have that compassion for others.
Do you think that justifies how difficult medical school is?
I am almost willing to say yes. I don't think any other reason for medical school being as hard as it is valid. The idea that you have to learn all of this stuff, we are learning a pittance of the medical knowledge that exists in the world, right? And we will always have access to that medical knowledge on our devices at all times, which we should, because it's constantly updating. I don't want a doctor graduating medical school and pretending like that's all he has to learn for the rest of their career. But I know that going in, that I'm already going to have to relearn all of this for the rest of my life. In that sense, I don't love how medical school is structured, but I do think that it's worth going through something difficult. And I think it's worth striving for something that is ultimately impossible, which is to know enough to be able to help the people around you.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I wonder if there's any studies on countries that don't do it as difficult as we do it, and if that leads to better patient outcomes, because obviously the United States is not doing that great when it comes to medical outcomes, especially as people get a little bit older.
Well, I think the reasons for that are probably less about medical school than they are about the system that medical school.
Yeah, nobody in the world has better health outcomes than the rich people of America.
That's true, yeah.
And that it's disconcerting when you realize that very fact, that the wealthy in America have the best health outcomes on the planet, which means our system is the best on the planet, but it's pay to play. And that's what turns out makes our entire health system kind of fall apart.
I mean, look, one of the things that you're learning in medical school is not, the most important thing that you learn in medical school isn't like hormones and drugs and all the things that you have to memorize, right? The thing that you're learning is...
I learned those as a teenager.
The things that you learn, the thing that you're really learning, I think, in medical school is how to learn, how to make yourself into a lifelong learner rather than the cramming beast that we might all have been as undergrads. I don't know. Maybe my experience as an undergrad is not right? Is it true?
I think that it teaches you to become an independent learner.
Yes.
Because a lot of the time in high school, I really relied on my teachers to give me the information and give it to me well.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time now we have extremely intelligent professors that aren't always as gifted at the teaching part. And so a lot of the time,
Bring your microphone.
oh, sorry. Oh God, I just peached it.
I hope that tasted lovely.
Peached it. Okay.
Yeah, no, I get what I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think the point is that you're learning how to learn in a new way.
Yeah.
And you're learning the language of medicine. You're learning the culture of medicine. You're learning, I think the most important thing you learn is like what it means to be a physician. I don't know that the details of this pathway or that pathway are as important.
I will say that now, having finished preclinical, there is nothing that I've learned in medical school that was more difficult than anything that I learned in undergrad.
I definitely agree with
It's
that.
just a lot.
Yeah, okay.
For example, I just took a test that had more than 30 hours of lecture material on it, which is more than a semester of an undergrad course, of your typical undergrad course, and that was taught to us in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So like, that's just, it's just a lot of information coming at you.
Yeah.
And I do agree, it's not whether or not the professors, even some of them that are good at it, it's not, it's 30 hours of material to get into your brain in 3 weeks. Good luck, And
you guys, like, looking at the data, you guys do great. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hey, feel free to toot my horn. I'm okay with that.
I mean,
I never look at the data.
well, I mean, you wouldn't look at the overall class data usually.
Oh, well, okay.
It's because you can't. That's why.
Oh, I've never seen the data.
But I can tell you that looking at the data, we do really, really well. These guys do really well teaching you what you need to know, at least in order to pass your exams and things like that. So even on those days when you sort of barely pass your, whatever, MOHD test, it's actually, you're actually doing pretty good. So.
Yeah, no. I think really what I was trying to say before I peached the microphone was that, like, it's really taught me to be okay with finding other resources to help me figure out what other people were saying, basically, if it didn't come through the first time or the second time.
Yeah, it's true. And also, I think communication is really important between medical students because there are resources that are so important. And if you don't have access to those resources, you're going to kind of get left in the dust on some tests.
Yeah, you guys teach each other a lot.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of humility. And this is for anybody that's pre-med right now. It does take a lot of humility. Learn it to rely on your peers.
Yeah.
And I think it's a beautiful thing to learn that this guy who's sitting right next to me, why would he know more than me? Well, he does. He just happened to have access to a resource that you didn't. Or
I think it might be easier to learn that in medical school than anywhere else because, as I said before, here you're all doing the same thing. You're all learning exactly the same thing. You're all in lockstep pretty much. And yeah, it's easy to reach out to other people who are doing the same thing because you're surrounded by that.
Yeah. The woman that did an undergrad, or she had, I think, a master's in statistics. She got me through a lot of the evidence-based clinical practice work that was very statistic heavy, and I couldn't have done that without her.
Shortcoats, if this episode is worth listening to this far, it's worth sharing. So blast us on your socials, and if you want a sticker for your trouble, send us a screenshot. Thanks.
Brian, you found meaning during your first year of medical, actually probably before that. You told me recently about a new student org you and others are creating to benefit a small community in southern Mexico. Tell us about Playa Grande, first of all.
Sure. So Playa Grande,
is it a big beach?
It is a big beach.
Because there's a
big beach.
There's a couple of Playa Grandes in New Mexico, or in Mexico. I found out one of which is a big, like vacation spot.
It's not.
And the other one is not that.
It's not that one.
The one we were talking about is not that.
Yeah. So Playa Grande, I'll just call it Playa Grande for right now. But either way, it is a small fishing village. There's about 220 people that live in it. Oh. And it sits on the Oaxacan coast. And it's filled with an insane amount of mosquitoes.
Oh.
It is a beautiful place. It's got a nice laguna, really lovely people. And I actually initially found myself there in search of waves because I'm a surfer and I want to learn Spanish. So I ended up there on the coast and I fell in love with it, with wonderful people there. And there's there's an increasing incidence of mosquito-borne infections there.
Yeah, so we're talking malaria, dengue, chikungunya.
Exactly.
Zika. I remember years ago talking on this show about Zika people were freaking out about it. It was when Zika first came to the attention of the U.S. because they were having a huge outbreak in other parts of the world and the U.S. So I just think it's interesting how these things come to the attention of Americans. But
it's true. I think we're a very in-focused country.
Yeah.
To be fair, we got a lot going on.
I mean, there's
like there are a lot of diseases that we're dealing with, and if it's somewhere else, I give somewhat of a pass, considering that like it's not like we're sitting over here twiddling our thumbs.
It's hard to be aware of it. It's also hard to be aware of everything.
Yeah.
But, so what were you? So you said you went there to surf, but I think you did more than that.
Yeah. So I was synthesizing my intentions to become fluent in Spanish, and also waves. So they were coming together. So I was looking for a place that I could volunteer at, and I ended up getting in contact with a foundation down there, and they found me a position to teach English in this little village. So yeah, I went there. I lived there for, I think, on the order of like 2 months. And during that time, I saw that they had a great need for more protection for mosquito nets. I'm friends with one of the moms of the village named Linda, and I would go and eat at their houses every day, and which was amazing. They make amazing food over there. And when I was eating with her, I asked her how she kept her son Jonathan, safe from the mosquitoes. And she was saying, well, when we have power, sometimes I can point a fan at them, but other than that, there is no protection. They don't have windows. The houses are made of concrete. And that thought kept me up late at night, just thinking of my friends down there and the possibility of them getting a deadly disease, and how it's like $17 per mosquito net. Seemed like a really great thing to do. It seems like we have a lot of people who care about changing that. So
that's Nets for Nets.
That's Nets for Nets, yeah.
And so your goal, you told me, was to sort of raise a certain amount of money to get nets for the entire community.
That's correct.
These are bed nets.
These are bed nets.
Yeah.
So these diseases are predominantly diseases of childhood. Are you planning on focusing on getting nets to the children, or just like everybody that will put a net over their bed?
The hope is to get it to every single person.
Fair.
In the community. Yeah. So that's 220 nets that we want to raise. So we've got a little bit of seed funding so far. We're looking to raise a total of $3,740 by March 15th before the rainy season hits and takes out.
Seems doable, I think.
I think so. I don't really know. This is my first time doing an organization like this.
Fair enough, yeah.
I'm working hard. We got a few dedicated other medical students doing it with us. So
I have a question.
Hit me with it.
I've worked with a handful of nonprofits over the years, and the first rule for me is always, what do the people want? I've been a part of, unfortunately, organizations where we have maybe a good solution, maybe even the right solution, but it's not a solution that we have buy-in for the local community because they want a different solution. And if they're going to do that other solution, then we just do that one, which may not be the best solution, right? Like, let's say we need them to wash their hands, right? And that's how we're going to avoid this contaminant. But if that's not what they're going to do, if there's another solution, let's say it's hand sanitizer, then we're just going to give them hand sanitizer, even though it may not be as good, because it's like 50% is better than 0% kind of thing. That's a very long way to set up a question, which is, do they want the nets? Like, have they expressed a desire for nets specifically to solve this problem?
Jeff, your question is as beautiful as your personality. I just wanted to say that to begin with. And then second of all, so
he's a flirt, let me tell you.
Wow.
Ooh, getting hot in here. So
alpha coming up.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. A little peach in hell.
Yeah, so there was a council called the Mothers of the Village, and I initially voiced this to Linda, the mom that I had spoken of, and it had resounding support from the community. So It's something they're really excited about, and I'm really excited about too. Awesome. So hopefully I can get everybody at the school excited about it, and we could all be excited together about helping that community.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
What do you think of Fallon?
I was just wondering, when you end up getting the nets, or at least the funding for the nets, are you going to try to send them down there? Or are you going to drive them down there? I guess I'm just like, I know that it is absolutely possible to send things from the US to Mexico. It just takes a long time.
I happen to know somebody who has a van that could probably drive down there.
I would suggest
Sounds
maybe not in the
awesome.
middle of March.
It sounds like a movie. I'm down.
Well, yeah. How did you get down? Oh, did you fly down there?
I flew down there.
Okay.
Yeah, my arms were tired.
You said Oaxaca, right?
Yeah. Wow.
That's good.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna let that one go unappreciated. Yeah, because that's like what, a 30-hour drive?
Yeah.
Depends on where you're going from, I suppose.
Southern.
Such a
I'm just imagining you guys taking like the greatest spring break trip.
in this van that we got. Yeah.
I would film that. I would watch that film.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be a good one.
And would go off the travel blog that you wrote as well.
Not about Mexico though.
So to answer your question,
Yeah.
it's going to be a transfer. So una transferencia.
So
yeah.
they can buy them. Gotcha. Okay. Do they have a
so
supplier?
it's not going to be to the people of the village.
Oh.
It's going to be to a foundation that works with the village.
Gotcha.
And the the founder of the school in the village,
Gotcha.
whose name is Michael. So
Nice.
yeah,
And then I think would stimulate at least a more local economy,
bingo,
which is incredibly important for these types of efforts.
double bingo. Yeah.
Big fan. Big fan. Like
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
awesome.
Isn't that fun? So the idea.
What I like about this is it's very simple. It's a very simple goal. It's a doable goal. It's not like we need to eradicate, malaria, dengue, chikungunya, and the other thing I mentioned,
It was
Zika.
Yeah,
Zika, because those are big efforts.
These Americans always forgetting these tropical diseases.
Like those are larger goals that, people are already working on, I think. Whereas this is something that, a small group of people can easily do for another group of people, which I like that.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I think we're gonna have fun with it too. The way that we're gonna raise a lot of money, or one plan. If anybody listening wants to just send us money, we'll take it. But beyond that is we want to do like bake sales, volleyball games, basketball games. That's where Nets came from, by the way. Nets.
You do have, I should say, you do have a GoFundMe.
I do have a good fun. Yeah, I have.
GoFundMe. Nets for Nets, basically. Search GoFundMe for Nets for Nets if you want to contribute to that.
Thank you. You're beautiful. You're all beautiful. Thank you.
Are already doing pretty well there, but yeah. So but you didn't mention to me the extra stuff. That's cool too.
Yeah,
I like
really.
The multimodal approach. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's very cool.
It's kind of nice. So there's this, I want to call it a parable that's been wrongfully attributed to Desmond Tutu, but I think you can understand why somebody might attribute it to him when I'm done with it. It's this idea, it's like a little story of two people are walking beside a river and they see all these people floating down the river, right? Just like screaming, needing help. And they start pulling people out of the river, trying to help them out, right? And finally, one of them just stands up and starts walking upstream. The other one's still pulling people out of the river. He goes, "Where are you going?" He goes, "I'm going to go find who's pushing them in." Mm. And the point is that, sometimes we need very individualized personal approaches, pulling people out of the river, and sometimes we need a more systemic approach, which is addressing why people are falling in the river in the first place. You need both. No system can survive without both of these things, right? And I think that this is, to your point, like, this isn't eradicating chikungunya. This is a small level systems approach, right? And it feels a little bit more of a personal touch. It's people whose names you know, right? And that is the balance. It's like sometimes you can solve the whole thing, or you can work to solve the whole thing, which is difficult and takes a lot of time and energy, but is ultimately satisfying. Or if you can't do that because you're a medical student and you have to study for finals, you can lift that one person. And I think that is a beautiful thing to do as well.
This topic made me look up something that I've been reading about recently, but hadn't really looked into. Effective altruism. This is a current, I guess, buzzword, or I mean, it's not like it's new, but it's been really brought into the news by Silicon Valley, basically. It's pretty popular in Silicon Valley. And my understanding of effective altruism, I think Jeff knows about it too, based on his expression, is that your altruism is based on evidence. It's based on need, but a lot of it's based on evidence and data, basically focusing where things are needed. Whereas regular altruism that we usually think about is more like emotional. It's more helping the people around you. It's more based on your local coordinates.
So the example that a lot of people like to give, so this is a movement started by Peter Singer, who is a moral philosopher and somewhat of a utilitarian, which you could guess by the idea of effective altruism.
The maker of Singer sewing machines?
Unfortunately, no.
See on American Idol.
I am a bit of a nerd when it comes to these types of things. We were talking about being a nerd earlier. And the pitch, and there are certainly holes in the logic, and I might point them out, but the big pitch is, if you're walking by a pond and you see a kid drowning, you're going to help that child, right? Even if it means you get wet. Even if it means it destroys your $500 suit or the $1,000 phone in your pocket. Like, there's a cost to saving that child, but you gladly pay it, right? What if he's on the other side of a fence? What if he's on the other side of the world? Does that change the calculus? And the point of effective altruism is that it should not. That you being able to, one of the examples they give is like, you could donate money so that somebody can have a seeing eye dog, and the cost of that total training may be $10,000. Or you can donate that same $10,000 towards a program that addresses vitamin A deficiency in children, which will cause them to go blind, and that treatment in a third world country might be $50 a person. And so all of a sudden, instead of helping one person with a seeing eye dog, you're helping, I don't know the math, I set myself up for failure on this one. Let's say 200 kids. Yeah. I think that's about right. The numbers, the effective altruist says, the numbers say I'm helping more people by donating to the charity that's doing the eye thing, right? And because I can make more money doing something like Sam Bankman-Fried he's like the big famous one, right? And he's now in prison because of other reasons. But yeah, this idea that if you make a ton of money, you can help more kids than, say, just going to be a doctor in those rural villages providing the treatment. And if you can donate the money to pay for more doctors to go, then you have done more good than just by being a doctor, right? And so I think for me, because I've thought about this quite a bit, probably too much, probably too high level for this fun loving podcast, but it's a balance.
Are you saying that we don't delve deep into the heart of matters?
I'm saying that I can get kind of boring sometimes. That's what I'm saying.
I am superficial, by the way.
I think for me, it's a balance between trying to do the most good, which I think is an admirable thing to work toward, right? Like, if these nets are the best way to make sure that these kids aren't getting chikungunya or dengue, then that's the good goal, right? And it's also balancing that with the fact that people are inherently made better by being altruistic.
Yeah.
In other words, me actually taking care of the child makes me a better person and helps the child. So it's a balance between that, and also it's more motivating, right? Like, just donating X on a piece of paper is less motivating than going and seeing the child's face and seeing the smiles because they've been able to eat this meal that we provided, or doesn't have this sickness because of the net that we provided, or whatever.
They're just creating relationships, I think. Like, you can't have, I mean, I suppose you can have one without the other, but you really shouldn't have one without the other. Doing the most good isn't like, it almost feels superficial, right? Yeah. Like, also, how do you necessarily know that, like, the good that you're doing is the good that you're doing if you're not the one doing it? Maybe that's like trust issues on my part, but
there are organizations. GiveWell is one of my favorites. I donate to them quite frequently, where they vet nonprofit organizations to see how effectively they are doing their mission. Yep. And so it's very nice to have one of those, and they're very tied up into the effective altruism movement. But that's a valid point, you know. I think it has to be a balance of both. I don't want...
you gotta have both.
Yeah, I don't want medical students spending their summers, all of them going down to, I don't know, let's say Mexico, and like feeling good by doing like a little thing that isn't really that helpful, when they could have just, you know, donated to Brian's cause here and done some actual good. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I do want them to have experiences where they are able to feel that altruistic drive, where they're able to grow as a person and experience humanity and have those relationships. Because I agree, at the end of the day, the most important thing is the relationship. But I'm also willing to sacrifice a little bit of a relationship with a kid in, say, South Africa, if it means that I know that he got a meal. I can live with that.
I definitely.
So it's a balance.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I definitely think you're right. However, I think that, like, I totally agree. I don't think that every single student at Carver, for example, should go down to Mexico, like, you know, during their summer. However, I think that if that experience is emotionally moving enough for you, that could absolutely start you to, for example, care about Brian's cause. Mm-hmm. Or because if you don't have any emotional attachment to that situation, like, there's a really big chance that you're going, oh, well, you know, it's really far from me, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But you think about those kids like you have or you've had experiences like that, and all of a sudden doing effective altruism in other places makes more sense for you.
Yeah. I used this phrase this morning. The goofy Ben Shapiro, like, facts don't care about your feelings, right? Feelings are actually older than reason, right? Like, the ability to feel emotion, like that, evolutionarily speaking, is much older. So in a very real sense, feelings don't care about your facts. And I think that's kind of what we're driving at, is like, at some point you have to experience it. And it's not about necessarily what's the best way to help people. It's the fact that you are helping people, right? That you're having a relationship with humanity. You're experiencing the humanity of coming together and doing good. But I do think there has to be balance. I think that we can strive towards both of those things. There are two wolves inside of us. There's the logical side that says, let's do the best way. And there's the much more emotional side, which says, let's get involved, let's connect. And I think both of them have to be balanced. I don't think we can say one or the other, right?
Well, if you do need data and logic, I mean, I was reading this week about dengue. Was apparently having a record year. 2023 has also been the hottest year, so that's probably no coincidence. I think so. Dengue is also known as breakbone fever, and as I understand it, you've got high fever, headache, vomiting, muscle, joint pains, characteristic skin rashes, and then there's severe dengue, which is a hemorrhagic fever resulting in bleeding and blood plasma leakage, or dengue shock syndrome, where dangerously low blood pressure occurs. It's a pretty serious illness, and it is appearing in new regions, including European countries and the U.S., so it's becoming our problem, if that motivates. I guess there are cases being reported in California.
We had one in Florida earlier this year, too.
And yeah, rising temperatures and changing rainfall patterns, they make sort of the ideal conditions for the mosquitoes, Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, which are also responsible for a lot of the other mosquito-borne illnesses that we come into contact. So
I will say, and I don't feel this way a lot about most things, but if I could punch that mosquito in the face, I would.
I can't remember what the conclusions were, but I have definitely read an article that's like, what if we got rid of the mosquitoes? What if we got rid of them? What would be the follow-on effects the unanticipated consequences?
Yeah, okay, as the intellectual who's going to analyze the crap out of things, because I don't feel enough, here's the thing. There are over 100,000 species of mosquitoes, right?
Yeah.
20 of them are killing us.
Yeah.
20 of them spread at like 7 or 8 diseases that are significantly increasing mortality in the world. Malaria, dengue, chikungunya, these are examples of these. You can wipe out those 20 species comfortably without wrecking their own ecosystems, let alone the world ecosystem.
That's fair.
And there are people that are working on this. One of the ways that they are doing it is by trying to make them more or less fertile by releasing,
specifically the females, right?
Yeah, and then they're not passing on genetic material to the next generation, so they're decreasing the size of the population. Another one that I've seen that I heard about on Johns Hopkins School of Public Health has a podcast as well, and there's a research over the next several years. They're trying to find a way. I think they've successfully found a way to make the mosquitoes susceptible to the parasites that they're carrying that kill us. In other words, the things that are killing us will now kill the mosquitoes, so they won't be able to give them to us. But can you imagine, like, when they get the protozoa that causes malaria and in the mosquito, instead of just growing in the mosquito, it just the mosquito dies, and then all of a sudden it's not passing it on to a human.
Yeah.
And if they're able to get that going in the population, all of a sudden you're not killing the vast majority of these species. You're only killing a handful of them, but you're killing the ones that are killing us. And within the next 10 years, we should see that rolling out. So people are working on this problem. People are upstream doing that work.
Yeah.
And while they're up there, Brian's going to be downstream pulling people out.
You need
That's right.
kinds of
like
efforts.
a broken cell phone. I don't know what that means.
No, with a broken cell.
With a broken cell phone. like a broken. What does that mean?
He's not responding.
I'm just really excited to write the memoir of like Fallon and Brian taking a road trip to Oaxaca.
We
Strung together, the story of getting tiny fishing villages.
GoFundMe.com/nets-4-nets. Go ahead and give some love to the people of this place, the Playa Grande. God damn it, dude.
$17 and you're going to make a great difference.
Yeah. That's right.
Appreciate you all.
Well, you made it to the second break. You tolerate us. If you can, consider donating or buying a sticker or something. Visit theshortcoat.com and help us do stuff without having to beg a dean for money. Thanks.
Hey, I think people like to exaggerate their experiences for effect. I think it's way more fun to talk about something epic than something mid. Probably doesn't offer the true picture.
Did you write that line yourself?
Yes.
That was a good line.
I had DALL-E generate. I had DALL-E generate 2 images for each of some medical school experiences.
DALL-E?
And I'd like you, DALL-E.
You got the
Salvador.
first cloned sheep.
Not that DALL-E.
This is different Dolly.
I thought we were talking about Salvador.
She's dead.
This is why we use last names.
Or Dolly Parton. That's a possibility.
I was thinking Dalai Lama.
DALL-E.
Oh, or the Dalai Lama. Oh my gosh.
I got the Dalai Lama to generate.
And Salvador Dali and Dolly Parton.
This is an AI, you sillies. Generate 2 images each for some med school experiences, and I'd like you to comment on them. Maybe we can find a true middle ground, or maybe one of the extremes is the real deal. Listeners, you might want to go to our YouTube and skip to insert timestamp here for this part of the show. Actually, you just look at your podcast app and find out the timestamp. So
Crushing it, Dave.
Let's do this. We'll call this or that.
I love it. Did you come up with this?
You can get with this, or you can get with that.
I love
Salvador
that song.
Dali.
I love that song so much.
You just say the same thing like 50 times.
I have little time to prepare for the show. I'm not going to come up with this graphic for.
This is where it's at.
I just want you guys to know.
I could.
Where it's at.
All right, let's look at the first pair of images. We've got the med school interview.
Wow, that is so worst case.
Somebody describe for the stubborn people who did not go over to YouTube.
There's a squatting child skeleton. There's more than one squatting child skeleton.
Damn. Yeah, hold on.
So we've got 2 images here. On the left side of your screen is the worst case interview. And we've got a panel of doctors interviewing a prospective student kind of in the dark, and then they're surrounded by child skeletons.
Yeah. But that are in crisscross applesauce.
Yeah.
And those lights look like they flicker.
Yeah, they definitely flicker. Those
Also,
overhead
Make a
fluorescent
loud
lights.
humming noise. Yeah.
And on the right,
why is the Dalai Lama drawing
I don't know.
these horrifying things?
It looks like they don't know how
To help you let go of your fear.
On the right side of the image, we've got a smiling, besuited man.
Yeah, he looks like
That's
a hottie
best case
with a body.
connection.
Hanging around or sitting in an interview with a couple of
Clones.
couple of clone med school interviewers.
Monozygotic twins.
I think that this works because he knows he's a cutie. And
He's
like,
totally a cutie. I was
he's
just
like-
thinking that.
He's like, they have no idea what I did in high school.
I've noticed that AI generally does not
They didn't
generate
ask.
ugly people unless you make it.
Yeah, no, he's got like a really nice chin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's got a very inviting smile.
1,000-watt smile. I'm not sure if the number of teeth are correct, but anyway,
Usually aren't.
really
but
we're
that's all right.
focusing too hard
What is
on
a correct
Yeah,
number
his
of
suit
teeth?
fits well. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
28. You don't know that because you're in medical school and we don't talk about the mouth, but that's another
I was
Sound
going
like-
from a philosophical kind of thing, but
sounds like
There's an answer on that one.
sounds to me like Fallon's ready to give him a little peach.
I have
think he's
somebody
earned a
I
peach.
already give peaches to.
Look.
Sometimes even plums.
Ooh.
Ooh. Getting exciting.
it's a little flex there. All right.
Are the lights on?
Yeah, I'm
or is
lonely. All right.
Fallon just making us blush?
Which of these images do you find was more accurate?
I think honestly, best case Skanaton is the one that.
So you like the smiling people in the nicely lit room with the plants.
I have never been interviewed with baby skeletons sitting crisscross applesauce.
Okay, fair.
I do love that one though. That one was my favorite.
Fair.
That one
I'm
gives me
gonna
nightmares.
send this to our admission staff and see if they want to replicate that.
What is this?
that
The Last
scenario.
Supper?
Here we have the white coat ceremony. On the left, they're like crammed into a room. Their white coats are filthy for some reason. They all look very
They all look like they're really stressed out.
out.
Yeah, on the left side.
And on the right side, we have a beautiful cathedral-like, museum-like hallway filled with a roughly 10,000 medical students.
Yeah. And
the
ballpark.
class is huge at this medical school.
All their brains look like they're connected to
But
each
they're
other.
all smiling. They're all
We are one.
Yeah, exactly.
they're all ready for medical school.
I would say
Which one was more accurate?
my white
Either.
coat was more like the one on the right.
Okay.
Yeah, where everybody's
think the
smiling,
minion one?
happy. Yeah, everyone's brain connected.
I think
Everyone's
it's somewhere
on
in
a
between
psychotic-
because there was definitely a room where we were all crammed in there
Yes.
before trying to figure out what the
Trying
heck we
to
were doing.
breathe.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
on the left, where everybody's dirty, that was more
Yeah.
like before the ceremony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Looks like
then
they're all
during
gonna
the
have to-
ceremony, yeah, we looked like we were, I don't know, is that I don't know. That kind of feels like they all died and they went to Dr. Heaven. You know, like this
On
is
the right side,
orientation in
straight
Dr.
up.
Heaven.
Or they're singing gospel. On the left, they look like they're all about to fight each other to the death, and
On
they're
the-
just waiting for the bell.
Like
Like,
Gladiator.
And they know they're going to have to do it.
It's like
Yeah,
Gladiator
exactly.
versus Toy
No.
Story. They remind me of the Minions and the claw.
Aw.
That claw. You know? Yeah.
And their white coats look actually more like your white coats will look after the end of
I
clinicals.
know. I think those people are doctors.
If you don't know, white coats rarely get laundered. So,
Yeah.
I didn't
It's
see
because
them.
we
We're too
rarely
busy
wear
laundering our
them.
money,
huh?
Straight up.
making that cash.
Yeah.
Doctors are in the top what percent? It's like 5%.
The majority of people in the
Vertebra?
top 10% are doctors.
Yeah.
The majority
different.
of top 10% income earners in the United States are physicians. Just throwing
Not
that
okay.
fact out there.
Are those vertebra or pieces of paper?
Pieces of paper. There
Okay.
is a skull there, but
Mm.
so now we have studying anatomy. This is something that should be near and dear to your hearts.
I know. It's giving me palpitations.
This is like a
On the-
porque no los dos
Yeah.
situation.
I love how the best case scenario, it still looks pretty miserable.
Yeah. Yeah. He
On the
doesn't
left side, we have a young man with his head on his arms, surrounded by stacks of disorganized books. There's plenty of crumpled up paper. There's a skull for some reason sitting on his desk.
It's anatomy.
We actually are allowed to check out skulls.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I named mine Greg. He had Thanksgiving dinner with us.
And then we have on the right,
surprise there at
perhaps
all.
the same young man. I don't calmly absorbing his anatomy material from a book.
He also still looks kind of sad.
He
I'm not
doesn't.
gonna
He
lie.
does look sad, but his room, like, who has the funds to have a full skeleton in their room?
You can't check out a full skeleton.
Definitely not. And also, how would you like transport? Oh.
You're to transport your checked out skeleton on the CAM bus.
Yeah.
In undergrad, we were allowed to check out skeletons at the library.
Oh.
Really?
But you couldn't leave the building with them, but you could check them out for study rooms and stuff.
That's cool.
Maybe this is it gives me like home office vibes.
Yeah. Well, which one is more like your experience?
I didn't actually use books to study anatomy.
Yeah, that's like the big
That's
thing in
the
medical
big
school.
issue, yeah.
You touch a book, barely ever in medical
Yeah.
school. So
Unless you're a nerd,
Oh,
We
which
have
I was reading. I just not school stuff.
we
that's rad.
we have books.
yeah. We do have them. The BRS books are good
Mm.
for like practice problems, but
Yep.
oh no, do you feel
No,
that?
I agree with you.
I
I,
will
just have
say
it. I
that-
have it as a PDF.
Ah.
Like a physical book. I think the only physical books I touched in med school was in the anatomy lab.
Yes.
Netters.
Oh, those
Yeah,
are gross.
Netters is
Love
great. Those are
Netters.
gross books.
Covered
Yeah.
with
Just
human
Everything.
Oh, dear.
excrement
not
feels
excrement.
strong.
No, no.
Everything.
Excrement feels strong.
Excretions.
Well, it did feel
Excretions.
strong.
Well, I don't. They're not necessarily
Secretions?
human.
secretions. Yeah.
A lot of it's just formaldehyde.
Oh,
Or
well, that's fine.
formalin.
In juices.
It's
Well, that-
I mean,
It's
let's be
everything.
honest. Considering the stains, a lot of it's adipose tissue.
Oh,
It's definitely
gross.
out of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just know that medical school is disgusting.
Yeah.
And that's all you
Yeah.
need to know about this one.
But I just want you to know that if you use borax and a Tide Pod and you use hot water when you wash your things, like, you'll be just fine.
And do a seance.
My clothes, I washed them
Over
once a week and they didn't smell at the end of the semester. Like they were still a little stained, but that's because I'm
Mine's
bad
not
at
stained
stain
at
fighting.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, looking at the two of you, I'd say you won. Here we are taking a test in this scenario.
Neither.
We've got a bunch of nicely lined up students with their laptops taking a test on the left, and on the right is similar.
They're not even on the right side of the computer.
I was
Look at
saying
her.
their computers
She's
are
literally just looking at her computer backwards.
Yeah.
She's
Turned around the
struggling
wrong
so
way.
hard.
I put the computers backwards as they're taking the test.
She's like, why isn't this working? Why is my
Question
Scanara.
one.
Proctor? There's something wrong with my test.
Yeah, it looks like people are like throwing chewed bubble gum up in the air,
Yeah,
like ABC gum.
Those are
There's
their brains
gum.
exploding at their heads.
I think that one dude's face, the one he's like, Like, oh my God, they put this on the test.
I forgot to study.
That's how I felt this morning.
I make that face a lot in tests.
They're growing a couple weed plants on the left on that desk. You see that? They got a couple little cannabis plants. Am I imagining that?
In the back?
It
No,
is
it's
not.
just-
In the best case, Scenaron.
Yeah, in the best case,
Scenaron.
Scenarion.
I'm almost positive that those are just like little bonsai bushes. but
Don't
okay.
Don't
you all
grow
bring
bonsai. That's weed.
This could be. These students have brought plants to their exam. I mean,
Yeah.
this could be.
It does make it a more healing environment.
I was going to say maybe this is a strategy. Bring a plant.
Actually, they all have plants.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring a little potted plants to every exam from now on.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So neither of these look like our exam. So maybe the faces on the right, but you have to put us all in like a big lecture hall mostly.
Yep.
And
We keep
you
getting
have
put
to
in the
add
microlab.
construction noises.
Construction, that has happened. 3 exams. They're like,
Not
just
this time.
random
We talked to him.
Nothing.
random construction noises. One time a mic just started going.
Yes.
Imagine taking the hardest test of your life
We had a
with
test
someone
fire
screaming.
drill. We got 10 extra minutes this semester because they did a test fire drill. Guy comes on the intercom. This is just a test. For 10 minutes, Dave. Oh, God.
And it turned out it wasn't. Just kidding.
Our poor proctor was so confused. She's like, this has never happened. I don't know what's happening right now.
Oh my Lord, that's funny. Oh my God, I sat down for one of the tests this semester next to my buddy Sebi, and
That was your first mistake.
this dude's tummy just starts going. Is there a puppy? I started laughing, and then he started laughing. It looked like we were cheating, but
Oh
we were
no.
just having a good time.
No, there's just a puppy in my stomach.
Oh my God.
Here we have seeing your first patient. Now you guys have done early clinical experiences.
Indeed,
so,
we have.
I guess this is applicable to you. On the left, we have a vacantly smiling young woman.
There's nothing behind those eyes.
Looking at her patient.
Yeah.
And on the right, we have a very puzzled, what the
The puzzled
young
one?
man.
Bro's got an extra finger on his left hand.
Yeah, very normal.
Just
Very
saying.
normal with AI.
There are 6 fingers on the dude's left hand.
That's how
Don't
I got
judge
into
him for
medicine. That's what he talked about it in his interview. He was like, it's really hard to have 6 fingers.
He's like,
You talked about how it gave him an advantage, though.
But he's a really good piano player.
Yeah, really good piano player, great at prostate exams.
I don't even want to think about that one.
oh my God.
I will say the one on the right, the kid looks very confused. I'm guessing what just happened was he asked the patient, "Do you have chest pain?" and the patient said no. And then the attending said, "Do you have chest pain?" and the patient said yes. And he's like, "Why do you hate me?
Why did
do you keep doing this to me?"
Dude.
That's like the stereotypical medical school thing where they just like straight up lie.
Yeah.
And like, nobody's ever asked me that before. I'm like, "Dude, I just did."
Oh my God. For me, it's sort of like the outside view, like what you're presenting is Venkat Stare Girl, and the inside of your brain
Yeah.
looks like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's nodding, but inside she's
It's
like,
what?
Now we have.
"Gonna cut off her toe?"
Well, I had to be specific with this one. First, ingrown toenail removal. You guys haven't done this yet.
I've done this on myself.
I've done this on myself. Yeah.
Looks fun.
The guy on the
Fallon,
left, we have a
My
cartoon.
girl. Look at us, twinners.
We've got a cartoon on the left, a doctor with a very confusing set of instruments
Yelling at her.
yelling at her foot, and then on the right, a very confident young man overseen by a woman who is also doing a ingrown toenail.
She's only wearing one glove.
You only need the one.
I think
They both got gloves. Oh no, the doctor in the back only has one.
Yeah. Also, can we talk about really quick how the light, Brian, I think probably this only, but doesn't the light sort of look like the adeno hypothesis?
Yeah.
Look at these nerds.
It does look like that.
Yeah.
I always called it.
Now you're definitely going to go to YouTube, listeners.
Yeah.
You're like,
that.
I know hypothesis.
Yeah,
Let's go
yeah.
look at this.
It's so
Well, also
pretty.
always calls it the most patriotic part.
Yeah, it's like red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
So if you look at the adeno hypothesis,
Which is like the anterior
pars,
pituitary,
yeah, the pars
basically.
distalis under a histological slide, then it comes out looking red, white, and blue, and like pop in like
Yeah.
fireworks 4th of July.
Got it. So
It's
you're
really
talking about the
pretty.
light on the right.
Yeah, like,
Right.
yeah.
Mhm. I look like the guy on the right. Oh, wait, no, it's patient's right. Sorry, that's our left.
Wait, do you look like Screaming Guy or
I look
or
like
Fine Guy?
Screaming Guy.
Okay.
I
He
look
does
a
look
lot
like
like Screaming Guy.
I think he's screaming because his hemostats have also become
Turned into-
scissors.
Abomination,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're like Edward Scissorhands.
I know he's got scissors, maybe hemostat scissors, and then he's got a scalpel that has merged with the scissors.
Oh, you're right.
It looks like it's two pairs of scissors that only have one blade at the end, and then they've come together to form one pair of scissors. So it's one
The
pair of
super
scissors with
scissors.
4 holes.
I mean, to be fair,
which would be great for the guy with polydactyly.
to be fair, a lot of surgical instruments look like this to me. So
This dude's missing a finger, though, and that woman's missing a toe.
Oh,
You only need 4.
well, he's missing a toe because he's not doing it right. I think
She's about to lose a toe.
she just lost a toe. That's why he's screaming.
No blood, no problem.
I feel like when it comes to like those types of things, I'm not usually very like,
I mean, I try to be understanding, but I've seen some gross feet.
oh yeah, feet really don't bother me.
Concentrate less on the feet. I also did a shave biopsy one.
Like you did it?
No, I
Oh.
made I had the AI make a shave biopsy one.
I will say we don't shave patient. That's unrelated to a shave biopsy. That's just
Yes, that's a
Shave
related
biopsies are
related word. That's it.
Yeah, shave biopsies are like
Clip,
a little
don't
bit.
shave.
They're like a little. I don't know. I feel like they could definitely be disconcerting if you didn't exactly know what they were. Actually, seeing them happen are like.
No, there's no way around it. It's disconcerting.
Yeah, that's
I know
fair.
exactly what they are, and I still think they're disgusting.
Yeah, they're not ideal.
I'll come clean. I don't know what on earth that is.
So
Just imagine like they pinch your
Edify
skin
me.
and they just
Yeah,
shave it
so,
off,
like,
just cut
if
it
you
off.
have like a funny, like let's just say you have a funny mole, right?
I do.
And they're like, okay, well, we don't want to go super
It's just
deep.
telling
we just
dad
want
jokes
to
all
do
day.
something kind of superficial. They get a razor. Sorry, they get a razor blade, like just like a new razor blade, and they're a little bit bendy, and they just wink. And
They just wink.
Yeah, they just like bloop.
They pinch your skin and then they bloop it so that it's shaped like it's basically like a football shape, and so that they can sew it back together better.
Okay, so
we didn't sew ours. We just like it was superficial enough that they just put a little bit of shit on it and then they stuck a band-aid on it.
Oh, I guess it depends on how deep you go. Yeah.
Yeah, but punch biopsies, then they take like basically a little cookie cutter and they like,
They're
and then they
extra gross.
cut it off and then they,
A lot of
Wow.
Yeah.
So in the first situation, it's more of a wink. In the second situation, it's more of a.
one is shallow, one
All
is
right.
shallow and one is deep. One is basically peach and one is alfalfa.
just getting to really know them, you know.
Yeah.
Bring
We
it
have
on
to-
home.
We have to end this show
You brought it home right at the end.
because A, we're kind of grossed out, and B, Jeff has to go hop on a plane.
I'm gonna go see my wife and alfalfa
Yeah.
all day, I guess.
Oh, okay.
I mean, also
It's
great
better
for
than the
Thanks,
punch
Jeff.
biopsy. Go ahead, Dave.
Jeff, Fallon, Brian, thanks for being a part of the show today.
Thanks for having us.
Much love, much love.
Always a pleasure.
What kind of fever dream would it be if I didn't thank you, Shortcoats, for making us part of your week? If you're new here and you like what you heard today, follow the show wherever fine podcasts are available, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. The show is made possible by a generous donation by Carver College of Medicine Student Government, an ongoing support from the Writing Humanities program. Our music is by Dr. Vox and Catmosphere. I'm Dave Etler saying, don't let the bastards get you down. Talk to you in 1 week. Hi, Shortcoats. Look, life in medical education, life in America, life in the world is often difficult. And I often wish I could help. All I have is this podcast, but in my wildest dreams, you have the support you need to lead a life of your choosing. You deserve to be happy, healthy, and successful in whatever ways you define those words. So if you need support because you've experienced racism, discrimination, harassment, mental health crises, I want you to be able to get the help that you need. And so I'm going to put some links in the show notes to some resources that you can use. But the bottom line is that for what it's worth, I see you. I know you're out there. I wish I could do more. Maybe I can in ways that I don't understand yet or know about. But I see you, and I'm glad you're here, and other people are too. This Shortcode podcast is a proud member of the MedEd Media Network. Inspiration, information, and guidance on your journey to medical school and beyond at mededmedia.com.